one person who is probably the most important person in these finals. Now, if you take a look through 2 games on ESPN Bet right now, Jason Tatum is a pretty significant favorite to be named the MVP, despite not yet having a 20-point game. Jaylen Brown, as you see, is right behind him. My guy, Jrue Holiday, is amongst the others. But did you see Sunday night in the postgame? Our Bob Myers had a fascinating take on who the most important Celtic really is.
I'm going Brad Stevens.
Okay.
You think, I mean,
I get it.
But the team.
Put a team together.
You put a team together. Jrue Holiday might have been the best player in this game. The first game, it might have been Jaylen Brown, might have been Porzingis. That's the advantage that this Celtics team has.
So, of course, leave it to the team builder to make that comment. But, I mean, I think there is some validity to that. And you were talking this morning, and this was a fascinating conversation about where the Celtics were 3 years ago relative to where they are right this minute.
So we focus a lot on 2 years ago, they lose the finals. Oh, the disappointment. Last year, they lose in the conference finals to the Heat. That's a big disappointment. 3 years ago, not that long ago, they were a 500 team. Now, injuries and COVID had something to do with that, but they were a 500 team, and they got obliterated in the first round of the playoffs by the Brooklyn Nets super team that everyone was scared was going to take over the league. Spoiler alert, that did not happen. But the Celtics had Kemba Walker. His career was going down. Gordon Hayward, that experiment had already gone bust. They had Tatum and Brown and kind of a muddle around it. And you flash forward 3 years with Brad Stevens, and he would tell you it's not just him. They have a great front office there. To trade what they traded for Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and Derek White, and to get Al Horford back is masterstroke after masterstroke after masterstroke, reinventing a team that 3 years ago looked like, uh-oh, have we hit a wall? Has the East kind of passed us by before we even had our moment? It's a great job of team building, a totally new supporting cast that makes a ton of sense, and their stars have gotten better too.
It's a point worth making here, guys, that the very first time when I was hosting NBA Countdown that we went on the road was November of 2021. So it's, you
after that playoff loss.
After that playoff loss. And the Celtics were playing the Lakers, and we did Countdown from center court in Boston. And the number one topic that we had, and no one was making fun of it or anything, was, is it time to break up Tatum and Brown? Have they gone as far as they can go with this duo? Do they have to trade away Jaylen Brown? Do they have to start this thing all over again? That isn't that long ago, to your point. On the calendar, it's not that long ago, and here they are, and they're 2 wins away from a championship. It is, and I think that you give the credit. That guy on the screen gets a lot of the credit among a lot of other people.
Totally agree. Countless times I had that conversation on this show and other shows. That went on for several years.
But breaking up Tatum.
Absolutely. I'm glad I never bought into that because, ultimately, this was what they needed around them. And I also think there's growth in their relationship. There was a time when I would watch them play, and I never got to the point where I said, you know what, break this up. But I would say to myself, man, they really operate independently of each other at all times. Nothing they do is in conjunction on the court to put maximum pressure on defenses. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like now there's a really beautiful ebb and flow to when these guys are the alpha on a given possession, and more importantly, when they understand the play that needs to be made. Right now is the right play for somebody else. That's what they're doing right now, and they've meshed beautifully, and look, they're 2 wins away from finally breaking through.
As much as their maturity is a part of this, I do think that the point guard leadership from Jrue Holiday has been huge on both sides of the basketball, whether you talk about him defending Kyrie Irving or just his experience having gotten over the hump. We were here when he got shipped from Milwaukee and was hanging out on the West Coast, whatever that happened. We were immediately like, Boston is a team that needs to go get this championship caliber, all defensive point guard, period. And it has been such a perfect fit. So kudos to Brad Stevens. That, to me, I mean, we can argue about Holiday or Porzingis in terms of the savvier move. You might even want to throw Derek White, that move, into the conversation.
It might. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When Milwaukee acquired Dame Lillard, we thought that might be the missing piece for a championship, and we were right. It just turns out it was for Boston, because that's how Jrue Holiday wound up there, and he is as important a piece of this as anybody. Windy, final word on just how this Celtic team went from one no one really believed in to one that appears inevitable, not just now, but maybe into the future.
Well, it was 11 years ago this month that they basically broke their team up and traded Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce to Brooklyn. That was where the seeds of this team began, because that was the deal that got them Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But I will say that one of the biggest moments was draft day last year, again, 1 year ago this month, when not only did they get the Porzingis trade done, and if you remember, there was a deadline on the trade, and they had one trade fall apart overnight, and they scrambled during draft day to put one back together. And in that Porzingis trade, not only did they get him, but they got a draft pick. Somehow they acquired Kristaps Porzingis and a first-round pick. That's a brilliant move, and that first-round pick was a centerpiece in the deal that fell into their lap a few months later for Jrue Holiday. Amazing set of circumstances there that was the final pieces for this decade-long build.
Yeah, they also traded back the year they took Jason Tatum to take him from first to third. They've gotten a lot of things right in Boston, and that's how you wind up.
NBA